So on table 2, I raise pocket aces under the gun, and legal robbery 3-bets me on the button. He's been playing very straightforward so far, so his range is going to be very strong. I don't expect to see a lot of bluffs. And he 3-bet my under the gun open raise, so it should be something like pocket queens plus and ace king. 4-betting here is standard, but I'm doing it because he has no bluffing range and only a very strong value 3-bet range. So if I 4-bet, I cooler 100% of his 3-bet range. And we get it in against ace king. Now, this hand may look like a cooler to a lot of you, but I assure you, we owned him really hard here. He doesn't even know it, and he would never figure it out either. To give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about, I will use the most extreme example I can think of. So, we are playing in a micro stakes full ring game, which, coming from a very aggressive 5-10 6-max game, this is a fucking rock garden. We are a nit that raises under the gun, and it gets folded to the big blind, who is the biggest rock at the table. He 3-bets, and for argument's sake, he's 3-betting to an amount which we can't call to set mine. A full ring nit has no bluffs, and the only value hands he will do this with is pocket kings and pocket aces. Obviously, ace, king, and pocket queens is an easy fold if we had it. Now the problem most people have is that by popular belief, you can never fold pocket kings pre-flop for 100 big blinds. It's just standard to go with the hand. But if villain 3-bets and goes broke with kings plus, and we only continue with kings plus, how does anyone make any money? All we do is cooler each other. The only person making money is Howard Lederer, and he's not even in the hand. But what if we folded pocket kings to the 3-bet and only continued with aces? Then we always cooler him when we have aces, and we never get coolered when we have pocket kings. Is that not fucking sick? The only way we can exploit this nit is to raise fold pocket kings under the gun to a single 3-bet. Now, how do we apply this to 6-max? So, legal robbery is 3-betting and getting in queens plus and ace king on the button against the under the gun raiser. Most standard regs under the gun will be like, oh, games are so aggro, just gotta go with queens plus and ace king. Once again, these guys are just coolering each other, and what's the point of that? But remember my pre-flop rules. We are going to raise fold pocket queens and ace king in early position. This way, we are left with a range that crushes their 5-bet shoving range, and this doesn't become a cooler situation at all anymore. Are the gears turning yet? Remember how I want to raise fold ace queen, tens, and jacks on the button to a 3-bet? It's because if we call with roughly the same range a nit 3-bets with, then we'll need to play superior to him if we want to squeeze out any profit with the exact range. But if we fold the weaker end and continue with the stronger end, our equity will be higher on average, which will allow us to play better post-flop because we won't be put in marginal/negative EV spots anymore. Which means profit. There's a hand I skipped earlier that I'm going to show you now. I'm facing an early position raise with ace-king, and this is the most standard call in the world. 3-betting is just retarded, regardless if open raiser was a leg or nit, and I'm calling at every position at the table. The reason for this is probably best explained in this one standard hand that almost everyone, one time or another, has been put into. Alright, it's been folded to some standard tag that you don't really get involved with that much. He raises the button, and you have jacks in the big blind, so you 3-bet because, fuck, jacks is a big hand. 100 big blinds deep, the reg calls, and the flop comes dry and low. You make a standard continuation bet, because that's what people do, they make standard continuation bets. He calls, the turn is a 10, and suddenly you have this sinking feeling. You've made out your bet size, but can't click the bet button. You realize that if you bet that there aren't any hands you beat that will call, you start sweating bullets. It's at this point that everyone comes to me and asks, Nikachu, what do I do on the turn? I'm so confused. And I tell them that the problem isn't on the turn. The problem is pre-flop. Alright, let's talk about range manipulation. I don't know if this concept has an actual name, but I've been calling it range manipulation for as long as I can remember, so I'm just going with it. Range manipulation is about how our bets and raises and the size of those bets and raises have a direct influence on the range of hands our opponents continue with. You hear all that crap around in the forums about not 3-betting ace-jack preflop so we can keep weaker aces in and garbage like that? Well, that's the bullshit we're going to talk about right now. What people don't seem to understand is the hands people open raise with is not the same hands they continue after being 3-bet. So if you have ace-king in the blinds facing an under-the-gun raise, it doesn't really matter if he's a nit or a leg. Your 3-bet will look very, very strong, and he will only continue with the top of his range. Even 10s plus ace-queen plus is way too generous for under-the-gun versus the blinds. It's a lot more like queens plus and ace-king, which we're crushed against. We end up setting ace-king on fire. Alright, time out for a second. I just want you guys to be aware that if you face a lot of heat from your early position raises, that alarm bells should go off. These fucking seats are danger zones. If you're under the gun or middle position getting a lot of money in pre-flop against the blinds, or if you're in the blinds getting a lot of money in against under the gun or middle position, then expect a range of queens plus and ace-king. For both sides. Whenever I see someone show up with ace-king here pre-flop, it makes my eyes bleed. It pains me to hear people call it a cooler. A lot of pros will 3-bet ace-king in the blinds and get called in early position. Then they say, well, his range for continuing here is going to be very, very, very strong. Well, no fucking shit, so why did you 3-bet in the first place? So, we're facing a raise from a taggy button with pocket jacks in the big blind. Let's assume he has a fold to 3-bet of 70%, which is relatively high. Yeah, they can raise the button with 9 deuce suited and pocket 3s and ace 3 suited, but when we 3-bet, that range vaporizes, and we isolate ourselves with the very few hands we're in good shape against. His calling range won't even have ace-king, which means we're doing even worse post-flop. And against me, if they 3-bet a range of 5%, they will manipulate my range to the tightest possible and set their pocket jacks on fire. Can you see how playing so tight to 3-bets makes it a mistake for them to 3-bet these hands? The same is for you. The fate effect just never gets old. So, we have a standard hand here, ace-jack offsuit, facing a raise from, let's say the button and we're in the blinds, and we want a 3-bet. The problem with ace-jack is, even against a relatively wide 3-bet continuing range, we are in bad shape. Against a tighter range, we're fucked. Even if ace-king isn't in their calling range, the equities are about the same. But notice that if I replace ace-jack with ace-4 offsuit, it's basically the same equity. And that's because we turned ace-jack into a bluff. So let's talk about this for a second. So, whenever I want to 3-bet any hand, I'm always asking myself, can villain call with worse? Can villain 4-bet with worse, like 4-bet bluff? When I want to 3-bet ace-jack, ace-queen, ace-king, worse hands that can call can include small pocket pairs like pocket 4s, 5s, 6s, and 7s, because they will play like dog shit post-flop. It will be impossible to avoid overcards, and seldom will they flop a set. If you know villain calls with a lot of pocket pairs, it would be wise to double barrel a lot of single high card flops. So let's say we realize they can't call or 4-bet with worse. Then we should immediately consider calling. It is such a waste to 3-bet, say, ace-jack or ace-queen because we think 3-betting is immediately profitable. If villain's 3-bet continuing range is so tight, then we should be 3-betting more polarized, like 3-bet aces and kings, and then air, like ace-4 offsuit and ace-4 suited. And call with ace-queen so we can make the most of our entire range of hands we play with. So, if I think 3-betting turns my hand into a bluff, I immediately consider calling. Now let's say villain can't call or 4-bet a 3-bet with worse, and we can't call his raise either. Maybe villain is too tough in position on the button, and we're in the blinds with ace-jack. Or maybe we have ace-10 offsuit on the button facing an under-the-gun raise. Now it's okay to 3-bet bluff with our hand because calling wasn't profitable anyway. Of course you always have the option to fold pre-flop.